and I will recognize myself for 5 minutes. Mr. Garner, again, thank you for being here. My question's related to the government in the Sunshine Act, or Sunshine Act, which was created to promote and improve transparency and decision-making in the government. Under this law, agency meetings must generally be open to the public. Makes sense. The Supreme Court recognized Amtrak's federal status and found in DOT versus American Association of Railroads that Amtrak was created by the government, is controlled by the government, and operates for the government's benefit. Given Amtrak's federal status, why has Amtrak continued to violate the Sunshine Act?
Thank you, Chairman Nehls. I believe that Amtrak in the 90s, through a series of work with our council and others, determined that the Sunshine Act itself didn't apply to Amtrak at that time. As you've said, we are certainly an entity owned by the federal government, but we're a corporation established under the DC Corporate Act. So we certainly could get back to you on the specifics there about the application of that statute. Certainly, as the chairman said, we intend and we have been following the recent changes in the IIJA to engage the public and have more public input with the board meetings.
Just getting you, to commit to, implementing some measures that will bring you into compliance with it is what we're asking. It's just get into compliance with the Sunshine Act. I don't think it's that difficult to do.
Okay, well, we certainly can look at that again. I think that the issue applies to the governance of the company. We can take that.
Everything's about transparency. We know that, how important it is. So, Mr. Kosha, how would that transparency measures required under the Sunshine Act improve the operation of Amtrak's board of directors, and will you commit to complying with federal requirements for your board meetings?
Well, without adding to the sort of need to analyze it from a legal standpoint, which Mr. Gardner has committed to doing, and my recollection of the application of the Sunshine Law at Amtrak is in line with what Mr. Gardner just mentioned. But on a more important point, the board feels as though the level of request for transparency as to the board's deliberations and the operations of the company is actually a very, very positive thing. We embrace it. We very much welcome the opportunity, as we now have in the last year, to have several meetings in the public. Our meeting in Richmond was very well attended by the general public. Meetings we've had with the disability community, with our labor unions, all of them have been in the context of a board session, including those constituent groups. And as I mentioned during my testimony, we're doing that with the states beginning next month. In addition to that, myself and several of our board members have made a point of engaging different stakeholder groups that are very engaged with Amtrak on an individual level in order to be able to hear more of their concerns. I've had conversations within the past day and with the RPA, which represents the largest group of our passengers, and we've discussed a number of initiatives that we can do jointly to create a greater level of interaction between our stakeholder community, our board, and the company generally. And and the RPA can certainly speak for themselves, but I think they're very supportive of that effort.
I would like to hear from Ms. White on this from a state's perspective about just being more open, transparent, Amtrak's decision-making.
We were appreciative of being included in the board meeting in Richmond in December and appreciated the opportunity to share our story there. Transparency is foundational in the state of North Carolina, so we support what Amtrak is doing to become more transparent.
Yeah. Last one for Mr. Garner here. 2016, Amtrak awarded the $2.45 billion federal loan to procure these train sets for the Acela, which was on last month, by the way, so I helped contribute to your record month, right? May 2024, the most revenue. Is that what it was? Well, I'm part of that. However, to date, these train sets are still not in service. According to reports from Amtrak OIG, these train sets were produced and manufacturers before they could verify that they were safe to run on the Northeast Corridor. So I don't know why Amtrak agrees to build train sets before getting the safety model validated and approved by the FRA. I think you kind of mentioned it in your opening, but when can we expect the new Acela train sets to enter into service?
Well, thank you, Chairman Nehls. So you're right that we have been working with Alstom, the manufacturer, for quite a while here on these trains, and they are in test right now. Our hope is that by the end of the year, they could be in service around that period. That will depend on the testing work. But I would say that when we went out to bid for these trains, there of course, is not a domestic high-speed rail industry here at the time. We had a competitive procurement, and we went through a brand-new regulatory process established by the FRA, which had required trains to be built, prototype trains to be built, and additional trains to be made, and then tested both in dynamic test and using simulation and model. So that is underway and is following all the requirements of the FRA. It's really Alstom's job to finish this testing and get the train certified. We're anxious, of course, to have that happen because, as you say, the ridership is going well, and we wish we had more trains available today. We are working hard to make that happen and hold our partners accountable in the process.
Thank you. I yield back. I now recognize Ms. Wilson.